Hi, in this video, I shall walk us through how to import on the MIS. So this video shall cover two methods or two ways in which you could import into the MIS. I shall talk about how to import um, through the data access module using Spreadsheet, and secondly, I shall talk about how to import with mapping. So for the first way to import using the data access, anyone with this privilege can navigate to system, um, archives, then data access. Then by the first field here is a field to select the data source in which we want to import into. So for this short video, import into, I shall import a word. I shall import into the word list data source. Then the second field here, which says option, I shall filter to spreadsheet. So this way we can import directly into this table this number of records. So I think this takes about 100 data records at a time. So now I am going to import into word list. So if we have a list where we have our words somewhere in an Excel, we can just straight up go ahead, copy the values there and come to the spreadsheet and then paste. Then it automatically pastes everything in the spreadsheet. You could preview what you want, then go ahead to save. But now I'm going to talk about fields that are calculated. So these word list fields, by navigating to system development, anyone who has access could find the ERD module here. So if I scroll down to word list, I shall see the fields we currently have in the word list. So if you can notice, some of the fields are calculated. Some of the fields have the data type of calculated. So for these specific fields, it is important to note that you cannot put in your normal text or the name or what the user sees. You would have to get the ID that is tied to whatever value you want to put in and then paste it for those specific fields. But if it's not calculated, you can go ahead and paste pretty much other values. So for example, country is a calculated field. I can't come here and put Nigeria, with in Cabo case, the first letter being uppercase and the rest being no. I have to get the ID of Nigeria and come here to put it. So if I navigate to where my countries are defined, I can then go ahead to search for Nigeria, then copy the ID of Nigeria and paste it here. So if we have a huge spreadsheet where we have Nigeria in multiple places, and what would be best is to do a search and replace anywhere there is Nigeria, paste the ID of Nigeria. So if I navigate to my country list, this is Nigeria here. So I have to clicking on this arrow here gives us a drop down of all the fields that is tied to this specific record. Now the second field on this list is the ID. So this is what I need to put in my import. This. So because this is the ID, this is what I need to put. So this process has to be repeated for every field that is calculated. I can understand we might have this number of fields in our Excels, in many places. So like I said, a simple search and replace to find Nigeria and replace it with the ID would suffice in the case of using an Excel. So now that I have done this for country, for state, I am going to do the same thing. So I want to add a new word to, let's say, Ogun State. I have to come here. I can't come here and put Ogun. It wouldn't work because state, as specified in the ERD, is a calculated field. So navigating to states, looking for Ogun. This is Ogun here. Clicking on this drop down here to get the ID for Ogun. This is it. I copy it. I paste here. If we have an Excel, come to our Excel, do a search and replace in the Excel. For my LGA, say I want to add a new word in let's say Yewa North LGA. I have to come here, copy the ID of Yewa North, then come here to paste it. Now, name is a normal text field, so I don't need to do this process for name. So what name do I want to give to this new word I am creating? I'm going to call it video word test. Do I have a code? I can put it here. This is also a text field. The GUI IP, these are text field, and this can be optional. So alternatively to some fields are compulsory. So fields with red and an asterisk appended to it, also with an appended asterisk here, makes it compulsory. So you have to fill this particular field for status. Okay, then the second part is the status. So also this status is also a select box. No, now this isn't a calculated field, but this is a select box. I'm going to look for where we have a select box that is editable. If I navigate to, okay, for example, now this is a select box and the select values are editable. So for example, this type of identification, if I am to import into this particular table and I'm to fill the value for type of identification, I can't go to the Excel and type national ID because this is what the user sees. I have to put the ID or the reference for this particular national ID, which is in our case national underscore ID. If I want to put voters registration card, I can't come here and put this. No, it has to be the reference, the key for that particular value, which is this voter underscore card. So for status also, status is active without the camel case, without A being uppercase, just normal underscore active. So now that I've done this, before clicking on the save, one could preview what is going to be imported eventually when I am done. So clicking on this preview shows us a like a preview of what is eventually going to be imported. So we can see that in our Excel we used Nigeria in all lowercase, but it has picked up the actual value for Nigeria. In our Excel we used the ID for states, for Ogun State. It has picked up the actual value for the ID we inputted. Also our LGA, it's picked up the actual value for the ID we used. So if I didn't put the ID right, say I just add some random value. Now this ID I inputted here is not existing. If I put a random value also, it is not existing. It is going to pull up that random value instead of, because it can't find any value tied to this state, it is going to pull up whatever you inputted here. So in this our case now, this is wrong. This is not existing. Likewise, if we put Ogun, now Ogun is not an actual state because it is a calculated field. It has to be the ID. If we preview changes and save, we would see Ogun here, But this does not mean that what you're saying here is the right thing. This is just pulling up whatever you had inputted in the field. So it is important to know the difference when you are saying something wrong or when you are saying something right. So this has to be the actual ID. You can preview your changes to see that what you are doing is right. And once you've verified all the fields, then you can then go ahead to click on save. So this is the first approach to um, importing using the spreadsheet data access method. So now I can untick this and go ahead to save. Once it is done saving, I can navigate back to data table and then preview my changes and see my affected change. Now I have gone back to data table. I can see this is the new record I just inserted. If I also navigate to my words list here, I can see this is the new record I just inserted. I'm going to delete this and then shows the second method. So for the second method, it is import with mapping. So this avenue allows us to import directly from Excel. So here I'm still going to import into the word list for simplicity. Down here, we can also see a guide, an import guide on how to import. And there are some specific tables that has field that has date fields in them. For those fields, I'm clicking on this how to import guide. It shows us the format of what the date should be like. So if at all we want to import from Excel, the field for our date has to conform to this format. Else, you might have a different value than expected. Also, for fields that have select boxes, remember when I did for the status where I had to put in active, we can also view what the option should be like, what the actual value option should be. So I'm going to go back to import to the word list. If I click on how to import guide, so in this case where we had status, clicking on this option here, we can see the value for inactive. We can also see the value for active. So if we want to import for if we want to put the value for inactive, we shouldn't put this. We should put the key that is referencing this value here, which is this. Also, we can also copy this to place on our Excel, but that is for without mapping. So I can then go ahead to prepare my Excel. So I'm going to prepare a new Excel that I'm going to import. So my country, which is Nigeria, remember I have to put in the value and the ID, not the value we are seeing outside. I'm going to put in Nigeria. For Ogun State, I'm going to input the ID for Ogun, not the text. For what else do I need to input? Country state for LGA. I'm also going to put in look for an LGA in Ogun State. So I'm going to put in this ID for Sagamu. I've put in the ID. Then the next I need to put in my name from Excel video guide. That's the name of my word. If I want a code, I can put it. all this, I'm just going to go ahead and input the status. So the status, I'm going to set it to inactive. So now for inactive, I am using this key here, not the text everyone sees. So I'm going to save this. My Excel just closed abruptly. Okay, I'm just going to quickly fill it again. Nigeria, my state's ID, my LGA, then my status. So this is it. So I'm going to save it as a CSV file. So it is also important you save it as a CSV file. It is advisable you save it as a CSV file. So I have saved it. Yes. Then I can then go to my import and select the file. Then I'm going to go ahead to import. So now that I've imported here, I can pick. Here I need to map what column is tied to which column. So the first field here is my country. I need to select which column has my country. It is column 1. So I select column 1 and click on next. I need to select what column has my state. It is column 2. I click on next. LGA, it is column 3. I click on next. Then for the name, oh, I didn't put a field for my name. Let me quickly add it. Import Excel video guide. So I'm going to save this again and come back to start the whole process again. Select next. Okay. So my country is column 1. Next. My state is column 2. Next. My LGA is column 3. Next. Now my name is on column 5, as we can see here. So I'm going to select 5. Next. Then my word code, I don't have a word code, so I can just click on next. I don't have a geo IP, I can skip it by clicking on next. I don't have a geo code. Next. Then my state, my status is on column 4. I select 4, then next. Then what row do I want to start from? I want to start from column M, from row 1. So I select row 1 as my starting row. Then I click on next. Now it has been imported. Now if I navigate back to my word list, okay, apparently I had other um, empty rows in my Excel sheet, which we also need to. So anytime we are importing, we need to go to the last row and delete. So these are the 2 empty rows I had. We need to go there and make sure we don't have any empty rows, so it isn't imported alongside. So these were the 2 empty rows that was imported, but this is the one with the value I imported. So you can see my inactive that had underscore now has picked the correct text value. Also my LGA, which I inputted LGA blah blah blah, which was the code I inputted, it has picked the correct value. Likewise Ogun, likewise the country. So it is important we take note of the calculated fields as specified here, and we input their right IDs, not the text values. Thank you.